packed with an absolutely banger of a main event for this week's fight night.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, that's right. Simon Feck here, ladies and gentlemen. And now, you are going to witness the very first reaction video, ladies and gentlemen, joined together with MMA RIGO, ladies and gentlemen, and Simon Feck, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck 1 foot cock, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Let's get into it. Here's your predictions for this week's card, ladies and gentlemen.
The rest of the card isn't that good, but there are some decent matchups on it, and I'm feeling a perfect card after getting so close again.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, and Simon Feck's feeling a perfect card too, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck doesn't go around bragging like Giuliani Argentini and some of the other people that get a perfect card, just like this guy right here, MMA RIGO, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Simon Feck has gotten perfect cards before.
Fantastic on picks with my Jim Miller underdog, my Philly lay with Pat Sabatini, and what's the other Philly guy's name? Sean Brady. It was a fantastic card. Obviously, there's some robberies there with Waldo and Khamzat fights, right? But this week, I'm expecting clean judging and good scraps. Let's answer the question, who do I think is going to win each and every fight at this UFC fight night?
And all you out there are wondering what Simon Feck's going to pick, ladies and gentlemen. This is Simon Feck's first ever prediction video, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. You heard it. Now, before we get into it, with RIGO and his picks and Simon Feck, myself, and my picks, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look right here at this video from Musical MMA, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck's not the greatest with all this technology, you know what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? But this video right here, it's called We Need to Talk About RIGO, ladies and gentlemen. Just to introduce you to MMA RIGO, in case you don't know who he is out there, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what you get, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget to check out Musical MMA and his videos, ladies and gentlemen. He just did a new one on lucrative MMA, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here we go. Here's your buddy. Here's the guy that's going to give you the picks and Simon Feck, too, this week, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to give this is a piece of advice. Get into a confrontation this week. Everyone in chat, I want you to get into a confrontation and get back to me next week. We'll do another stream and we can all share. Anytime you do it, just share with me your confrontations you get into this week. Someone cuts you off with their car. Ride their bumper. Honk. Terrify them.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Show them you don't give a fuck about your own fucking life, let alone theirs. Someone looks at you funny. Some grocery clerk fucking doesn't say hello to you. Literally starts screaming at her, say, what, you don't have fucking common courtesy anymore?
No! It's okay! Okay, brother! Okay!
Would you like fries with that? Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what you're dealing with right here, ladies and gentlemen. The great MMA RIGO, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you caught it or not, but he was talking about the girl that bags your groceries, you know, being a female, give her a hard time, ladies and gentlemen. I imagine if it was a bag boy, ladies and gentlemen, he wouldn't be screaming at her, you know what I'm saying? Or him, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's get into the picks for this week, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget to check out Musical MMA. That's where that video came from, ladies and gentlemen.
They call him the cold one. Mr. 13 and 0, coming at you with a blinker picks.
Let's get right into it. We'll get unbiased and we'll work our way up through the card. Like I said, let's get right into it. We'll get unbiased and we'll work our way up through the card. Like I said, the card's like not the greatest, but it...
Like I said. Okay, listen here, people. MMA RIGO is from Canada, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have to work around. We're going to have to work around his speech pattern, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, he's Canadian. So if you're not familiar with a Canadian accent, ladies and gentlemen, this here, right here, ladies and gentlemen, this, hold on a second, let's get that hand of truth extended all the way, ladies and gentlemen. This right here is a perfect specimen of a Canadian accent, ladies and gentlemen. This guy right here, MMA Rigo, ladies and gentlemen. All right, hopefully you can follow along, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any trouble, just type down in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll answer your questions, okay?
It's just an apex fight. Now, some of these fights have the potential to be really good. So let's start out with Shauna Bannon and Nikolay Cagliari.
Out to an Irish pub with a sledgehammer maniac, snorting coke all night, causing chaos through Dublin, smashing through the glass. No way, we're coming back.
I'm gonna go with Nikolay Cagliari by decision in this one.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God. What did he name this? This is like the vaping predictions, ladies and gentlemen. Right there. I mean, he took that vape just like somebody, like a non-man, ladies and gentlemen. Did you see the way he did that vape? Man, he took it like a non-man instead of taking it like a man, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God. Woo! Here we go.
It's a little bit of a toss-up. It's like a pretty low-level female curtain jerker at the end of the day. Neither of these ladies have had much success in the UFC. Cagliari has had zero success. She got finished with like a body strike and then in their last fight against Carly Díaz. Lost her Nessa Karakachi by split decision. I do remember her performance there. It was okay. She's scrappy. She's kind of short, like compared to some of these other girls, especially Karakachi, but not to ban it, funny enough. She does have a submission on the Contender Series, and before that she was obviously in the regional scene. Shauna Bannon most recently lost to Sam Hughes, right? And then beat like Puja Tomar, who cares, and Elise Ardeli and split decision. He's fighting on this card, funny enough. Lost to Bruna Brazil, right? Like, I don't know. Shauna Bannon's kind of cheeks. Cagliari didn't look too good in her debut at the end of the day. She's scrappy, though, and she's got heart for days. And I will take her for that reason. Just by a decision. Maybe getting a submission, you never know. With these chicks. I mean, both are probably ripe to get a sub on each other. I would...
With these chicks, ladies and gentlemen. He said with these chicks, ladies and gentlemen. And Simon Feck being a black crow, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck knows a little bit about chicks, ladies and gentlemen. But here, this expert right here claims he knows a lot about chicks right here. Let's hear what he's got to say, ladies and gentlemen.
Pick Cagliari to get the sub more than that would Shauna, but not too much more to say about that.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to agree with MMA Rigo right here. I'm going to go with Nicole as well, too, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move on.
Daniel Barraz versus Luis Garule. Let's get on by it.
Rather place a bet on the horses. Get high, cake to feel the distorted forces.
Whoa. This is an interesting one because, like...
Oh, my God, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my God. It's so embarrassing, right? At least there's this guy named Vinny the Guinea, right? He does double Denver dabs, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Double Denver dabs, ladies and gentlemen. That's DDD, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of DDD, right here, ladies and gentlemen, we got DDP. Drinkus Duplessis, ladies and gentlemen. Khamzat Chimeav, ladies and gentlemen. Right here. Sean Strickland, ladies and gentlemen. Right here. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is rock, paper, scissors of the UFC, ladies and gentlemen. You got that right. Now, think about that. Think about that. You heard it first from Simon Feck, 1 foot cock here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go over it again. Right here, you have DDP, ladies and gentlemen, Chimeav, and Strickland, ladies and gentlemen. The rock, paper, scissors of the UFC, ladies and gentlemen. This is the greatest thing that has ever formed in the UFC, ladies and gentlemen. Brought to you by this guy right here, Dana White and the Money Machine, ladies and gentlemen. Right over here, BKFC's Big Ben Rothwell, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Let's get to it.
Luis Garule, in my opinion, is a kind of like I don't know. He's like not even a janitor or a gatekeeper, right? He's kind of just like fed to people. Like Alden Korea makes his UFC.
He's not even a janitor or gatekeeper or anything like that. This guy's claiming that he's a vapor, ladies and gentlemen, and he's putting on one hell of a display of that, ladies and gentlemen. Very non-manly, ladies and gentlemen.
Debut against him, right? It was at his second fight, regardless. Jesus Aguilar beat him 7 months ago. Odie Osborne KO'd him a year and 1 month ago. I mean, they're not really actually feeding him to the prospects. And that's all Louis Gurley has done in the UFC. Is 3 losses, coming off a split decision win on the Contender Series. I'll take Barraz all day long. I know he got upset by Andre Lima with that submission. And
listen, Simon Feck's taking Lewis on this one, ladies and gentlemen. Don't listen. In my opinion, don't listen right here. On this second pick right here, do not listen to this guy, MMA Rigo, right here. Listen to Simon Feck and take Lewis, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I'm not supposed to ring the bell on this one, ladies and gentlemen. I only ring the bell if I agree with MMA Rigo. Okay, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
And, he beat Victor Altamirano before that. That was a good performance. Lost to Rafael Fiallo. And besides that, hasn't done too much in the UFC. Hasn't been too active in the UFC either. He's been here for about 3 years.
Nothing like listening to a guy giving you picks and hacking and coughing, ladies and gentlemen. You know? Like he's got a terminal disease or something, ladies and like he's got black lung, ladies and gentlemen. You know, working down in the coal mines of the great Canada region, ladies and gentlemen. The great. Why is nothing coming to me, man? Like he has black lung, ladies and gentlemen. You know, from the undeveloped Canadian territory, ladies and gentlemen. Because you know why it's undeveloped? Because nobody wants to live there, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on.
They're right around each other's size. Perez has a slight height and reach advantage. This could go either way, obviously. I'm not saying Perez is a lock, but I will pick him. Now, Elise Ardelian versus Poliana Viana. I guess back freaking coughing before I even did this.
Coughing before he even did this. He was coughing before he started the video, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this guy right here is a world-renowned MMA YouTuber, prediction, content creator guy like that, ladies and gentlemen. I need to start learning from the best, ladies and gentlemen. I need to get a vape and start, you know, puffing on it and acting like I can't handle it. Like, you know, like non-manly, ladies and gentlemen. In a non-man way, ladies and gentlemen. Like, you know, people think like a man can handle anything. Well, right here, it looks like, you know, a man cannot handle a simple vape pen, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm fading Poliana Viana for the entirety of the rest of her career. I will take Elise Ardelian, who I don't think is honestly that much better than her. And like 3 years ago, probably would have got beat by her. But Poliana Viana is just...
I agree with MMA Rigo on this one, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to say Alice, but he's going to say Elise, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go with Alice, ladies and gentlemen.
Unthreatening guard and go for subs and shit. Like, it's just not a good style at this point in her career. She doesn't have, like, even, like, hunger to latch anything. It's just more she's, like, going through the motions. You know what I mean?
Kind of like Rigo going through the motions of the vape, ladies and gentlemen.
Jasmine Lucindo even, and last win over Jin Frey, but before that losing to Tabitha Ricci, right? I would say it's more since the Jin Frey win that she's just completely fallen off. Those 3 losses are all like bad. Like she's just not even bad, but she's like looking horrible. Elise Ardelian on the other hand,
MMA Rigo, this guy right here, he's also saying that she's looks bad, ladies and gentlemen. He's also a connoisseur of women's looks or whatever. I mean, did I hear that right, ladies and gentlemen?
She's like looking horrible.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen. MMA Rigo's going around telling you that this female fighter here looks terrible, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's just the wrong choice of words, ladies and gentlemen. There's no bell ringing on that one, ladies and gentlemen, because I do not agree with MMA Rigo on her not looking good, ladies and gentlemen.
Rando Santos most recently. She had a little skid before that. Melissa Martinez, as in Shauna Bannon. That split decision loss. But that could have went her way, right? She's slightly older. I think she's more serious. I think she's more screwed in. And I trust her a lot more in Polyana Viana to actually go out there and put on a performance. So I'm going to take Elise Ardelian by the decision. Yeah, let's rock with the decision in that one. Now, the fight that every last UFC fan has never asked for, has never theorized, has never said, I wonder how Andre Petroski versus Cody Brundage, the two biggest chuds.
Kind of like everybody out there has never asked for MMA Rigo to give them MMA fight predictions. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing, ladies and gentlemen. So it's just one on top of the other, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's like a double negative, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you know.
In the middleweight division, how is this fight gonna go? The guy who knocks himself out on Jacob Malkoon's hip, and then the guy who gets elbowed in the back of the head by Jacob Malkoon. Very funny. Petroski, I think, is actually slightly better. Like, Brundage is weird because sometimes he...
Did he forget to do the music and the vape pen or vape, whatever the thing is? Did he forget to do that on this one? Is he pussying out on us, ladies and gentlemen? Is MMA Rigo pushing it out on us, ladies and gentlemen, and he didn't take a vape before this prediction, ladies and gentlemen?
Can be on and look okay. And there's the argument to be made. He didn't beat Deontay Johnson. Don't know how that was a split decision in the slightest. Like, he didn't come close to it. He got worked by Cam Roston. No real shame. Then that split decision loss to Amber Conoco, I think, was kind of a robbery, but he didn't really deserve to win it. He obviously got that loss to Mansour Abdul-Malik overturned because he hit him in the head on the ground. But he got really lucky that they actually chose to retroactively overturn that. They do not usually do that. And even if there's a knee to a grounded opponent in a finishing sequence or a punch to the back of the head, it's very likely, unless the ref catches it, they're going to overturn it. So he got really lucky there. He should arguably be 1 in 4 in his last 5 fights, because his last win is a year and 2 months ago over Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile, who's honestly a worse version almost of Andre Petroski. So, I don't know. They're 6 foot tall each, and Petroski has an inch reach advantage. Petroski's, coming off a loss to Cam Roston as well. They're both Cam Roston's sons, and Edmund Shabazian. I don't think Cam Roston's a bad loss, and neither is Edmund Shabazian, especially he's looking okay right now. He's beat Rodolfo Vieira most recently, right, and Dylan Bucha. They both had their same win, actually, about a year and 2 months ago. That's where both their most recent wins come. I'm going to lean Petroski because I just trust him to actually, not... Listen, I know he threw himself onto that mouth.
Simon Feck's going to go with Andre as well, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it's funny how these guys that do predictions, and everybody out there, you're all out there watching these things and thinking these guys know stuff. All they do is just read, stats. Everything that you could get a hold of, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you really need to know, what mat that the guy trains on. There's, basically 3 different types of mats, ladies and gentlemen. The UFC only uses one type of mat, ladies and gentlemen. When you're training for a certain opponent, and you're training, and the mat isn't as slippery as the mat that would be for the UFC, you are taking an unfair advantage to yourself. You need to train on the same exact material that the mat is made out of at your home gym as the mat at the UFC octagon, ladies and gentlemen. There's just small things like that nobody thinks of, but Simon Feck does. Simon Feck, 1 foot cock is. Anyways, that way. You know what I'm saying?
Coon half and knocked himself out or whatever. Maybe that was a rigged fight or something. But Brundage is actually, really just bad. And I get it, he can be gone sometimes, but Andre Petroski's more consistent. I just like him better. I think this is going to be a typical low-level slop crap middleweight fight, though, in my personal opinion.
This is going to be a slow, crappy fight, ladies and gentlemen, just like this prediction video right here, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Hey, make no bones about it, ladies and gentlemen.
There's potential something crazy happens in it, but I think it's going to be a sloppy fight. I'm going to take Bukauskas by a sloppy decision. Ketlin Vieira versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti is a great little scrap. Let's get unbiased.
Slam 33rd, gold goat on his head. If he says that, go paint the gutter in red. Cause the truth is, look at me.
Listen, I don't actually know why I needed the blinker, because I think Cavalcanti's damn near a lock. It's WMMA, though. I'm not going to go so far as to...
Man, did he actually handle that vape that time, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, my God. He must be growing up and becoming a man, ladies and gentlemen.
Blocker. This chick is 10-1. She's got some good wins, like, in the UFC and on the regional scene. Like, she was fighting, like, the who's who all are pretty much in the UFC at this point. I think her one loss is to someone, like, in the UFC, who has, like, wins in the UFC. On the regional scene, though, or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but she beat Mayra Bueno Silva 6 months ago, worked her, beat Julia Avila, beat Nora Connolly, beat Josia Nunez. A couple of these were split decisions, but beat Julian Finn. She's a decision merchant. Cavalcanti, kind of like Movsar Evloev, better by decision. Meanwhile, Ketlin Vieira losing a split decision with Norma Dumont. She actually, I think, got robbed in that fight. I don't think Norma Dumont won that fight, if I remember correctly, right?
Well, you know, let's see. You need to refer to the paper that you're looking at. That'll tell you who won it, not who you think won it, and how many robberies there are. Okay? It's funny how there's so many robberies, yet there's 3 judges watching it. You know, I mean, come on. I mean, it's a judging system, ladies and gentlemen.
Regardless, she did beat Macy Chiasson. Lost fair and square to Kayla Harrison in the title fight. Obviously, right? Or was that pre-title fight? Was that Kayla Harrison like right before her title fight? Regardless, no, it wasn't a title fight. I can't... The blinkers are getting to me. I can't remember my history now.
Oh, my God. This guy, the vape pen's getting to him, ladies and gentlemen. I think this was the very first time he's ever used the vape pen, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this little boy here, he looks like he's, you know, just turned 18, like today was his birthday, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, because he's not handling this like a man, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just telling you that.
Regardless, beat Penny Kansas. Look, listen, Ketlin Vieira is actually she ain't no scrub. The odds make sense in this fight, plus 125. But I do just like the younger woman by 6 years in Cavalcanti. They're the same height, but Cavalcanti's got a 2-inch reach advantage. So I'll take Cavalcanti by decision.
Wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Wrong. MMA Rigo's wrong on this one, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be Ketlin, that's right. Simon Feck has got Ketlin, ladies and gentlemen. I think, how many fights are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights in, and we already got 2 disagreements here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move on. Let it play.
Every fight, I realize I'm picking by decision on the prelims here. Now, this is a really cool fight, guys. Tommy Gant versus Artur Miniev. All right, really cool fight. You got the Raleigh, Carolina prospect versus the Mariupol, Ukraine prospect or something. The guy who should be in the front lines. All right.
Out to an Irish pub with a sledgehammer maniac, snorting coke all night, causing chaos through Dublin, smashing through the glass, nowhere coming back.
I hate this card. It's not the flavor. It's something with the whatever it is. It's not like good like that mango one. These guys.
It's the flavor, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it right there from MMA Rigo, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that. It's for men only, ladies and gentlemen. It's the flavor, ladies and gentlemen. The flavor. The flavor's making them flake out, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine that MMA Rigo flaking out, ladies and gentlemen. Because the vape has the wrong flavor in it, ladies and gentlemen. The flavor has a lot to do with, you know, taking it like a man or not, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my God. Woo! I mean, this is like, it's like extra added entertainment here, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. You know, not only do you get predictions, you get to see a man that can't handle it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my God.
They're 2 undefeated kids, basically, right? Coming in. I mean, Tommy Gant's 33 years old. And this Ukraine guy's age is not listed because he's from Ukraine. He probably has fake documents to get his, like, refugee status in Wakefield, Massachusetts or whatever. Just kidding. but I don't really know how freaking that works.
Just like this guy here, MMA Rigo, right? He went down to El Salvador, ladies and gentlemen, went down there, and I think he's back in Canada. You know, he did flee from El Salvador, and he's back in Canada because his dad was getting married, ladies and gentlemen. His dad's a cool guy, right? I think he, like, drinks beer. Well, he drinks alcohol, ladies and gentlemen, plays guitar, hangs out with, chasing women and everything like that, ladies and gentlemen. But this one right here, I believe this one right here left his wife. Like, I don't mean like left her. He like left her there. He needs to go back and, scoop her up, ladies and gentlemen, get her out of El Salvador. He's talking about people falsifying paperwork, ladies and gentlemen. He has yet to produce a picture or anything like that, any online anything like that, where it's actually validated, ladies and gentlemen, that he left his wife down in El Salvador. Now, I'm not saying that he did, whatever. Maybe he got rid of her before he, therefore he didn't really actually leave her down there, but he left her. But maybe he didn't leave her because maybe she's not real. He hasn't really produced anything that said that, that he actually, that he, you know what I'm saying.
Anyway, Tommy Gant coming off a submission about 7 months ago. He had a different opponent, and then he had a short notice. There's a lot of question marks around him because of that. But, Tommy Gant's out there KOing, and subbing fools, right? All finishes his last 5. Chimeav coming off KOs, coming off decision there, coming off a KO. He's got those KOs. He's more of a KO guy. He doesn't have quite as mixed of a bag, but he does have some submissions there as well. Listen, guys. 2 undefeated, relatively young, in their prime prospects coming into the UFC. One is short notice. One has had some time to prepare for this, but obviously for a different opponent, Gaunt. And Chimeav, who knows? I'm assuming he was in a camp. I'm going to take Gaunt. I liked him. I was going to pick him against his other opponent. I'm going to take him by decision.
Simon Feck agrees with MMA Rigo right here, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. That's right. We got Gant, ladies and gentlemen.
I think both these guys are finishing machines, and when
both of these guys are finishing machines. They're in the UFC, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, everybody's not a finishing machine, but you know what I'm saying. All right. So this guy right here, ladies and gentlemen, this guy right here, MMA Rigo, is like a prodigy. Is that right thing to say, whatever? This is a spawn. This spawned off of the MMA Guru, ladies and gentlemen. People forget, man. People forget that MMA Rigo spawned off of the MMA Guru, ladies and gentlemen. You need to watch a few videos from Ronin, MMA Ronin or Ronin MMA or something like that. And also Musical MMA, ladies and gentlemen. You need to watch some videos, some documentaries on this guy right here. This guy right here is so good at what he does, ladies and gentlemen, that he has several documentaries on him, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't yet to see one on MMA Guru, ladies and gentlemen.
That comes together, we often get a decision. 2 young guys, undefeated. I think they'll decision each other unless something crazy happens. It could go the other way. Gaunt is by no means a lock. This is suspect. Like, in the sense of, it's not like going to be sketchy, but it's like, you don't know what's going to happen here.
Okay, so when you have a prediction video, right, and then you predict one guy wins, but you said it could go the other way. Of course, any fight could go the other way. Now, what are you saying? Are you saying that you didn't really want to pick Gant? And then maybe it's just, either you can't pick, you can't decide? Why is this said at this point? It could go either way. Be decisive, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck is, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to hear Simon Feck say, oh, it could go the other way. I'm telling you, Simon Feck, 1 foot cock, is telling you who's going to win, ladies and gentlemen. And make sure you listen to Simon Feck, 1 foot cock, for your fight predictions, ladies and gentlemen. Next one we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a mashup with Simon Feck and Fight Fairy, ladies and gentlemen. And then the MMA Girl, and then the MMA Girly, ladies and gentlemen. And then the other...
We got to see how these guys perform against each other. It's a really good matchup, and I'm actually really excited for it. And another fight,
The MMA Rigo's excited for it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what he was excited for or whatever, but I just had to throw this one in the video. The MMA Rigo's excited for it, ladies and gentlemen.
Ivan Irslan. I don't know how to pronounce the I's and the E's in this Croat's name, but...
That's the Canadian for you, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Canadian in you, ladies and gentlemen. They can't pronounce anything right, ladies and gentlemen. You know?
I'll tell you what. Tuco Tokos didn't look bad against Junior Tafa. I thought Tuco Tokos was a bit of a freaking damn scrub. He looked alright, and, he dominated the guy. So what can I really say? Subbed him up there. He had gone on that loss streak to Umar C by submission himself, and then also the loss he has to Navajo Sterling. But neither of those are actually the baddest losses. And then that's his career in the UFC, right? 1-2. He's fighting out in places like Fury. Before that, he's 11-5, a 6'4", 76 inches of reach at the 35 years old here. And Ivan Irslan, 34 years old, 6'2". 72 inches reach. So you actually have a significant height and reach advantage for Tuco. He's going to look like a significantly bigger guy. Ivan is coming off of a loss to Jimmy Crute by submission. Jimmy looked phenomenal in that performance. Also a loss to Navajo Sterling. This card has a lot of those, similar opponents who both lost to the same person. They're fighting each other. And a split decision loss to Ion Kutelaba. Before that was in KSW, where he was winning but also losing, getting KO'd. I'm going to take Tuco Tokos by submission. Ivan Irslan definitely has a...
Simon Feck agrees with MMA Rigo, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully I'm not going to have to agree with MMA Rigo very much, ladies and gentlemen. But we're going to go with Tuco Tokakis, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Simon Feck picks Tuco Tokis, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Feck agrees with the MMA Rigo on this one, ladies and gentlemen. And that one little blunder, I'm telling you, Simon Feck, that one little blunder in the middle of me trying to pronounce it was not on purpose, ladies and gentlemen.
Deficiency in that area that Tuco Tokos doesn't. It seems like that seems to be where Tuco would like to take this fight. If he has, I'm sure Tuco's would like to throw his hands, but if anything, Tuco's have the best hands. Ivan Irslan could stand with him on the feet there. Tuco's going to be the bigger, rangier guy, though. I like him by his submission. I like him being able to get his wrestling going, impose his will on Ivan and just wrap up his neck, get like a head and arm choke or something in the second round after he's just flattened out and worn down. Ivan, similar to how he did to Justin Tafa, the guy had a pretty smothering style. So,
what did he say right there? I mean, what did he say? I mean, it was ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen.
His neck, get like a head and arm choke or something in the second round after he's just flattened out and worn down. Ivan, similar to how he did to Justin Tafa, the guy had a pretty smothering style. So I'm going to take him there. And we got Nikolay Veretennikov versus Chaos Williams. This is a short notice for Chaos, I believe, as well, right? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Nikolay had a different opponent like 2 days ago. So I'm actually kind of happy I made this predictions video today, this week, instead of making it like Monday or Tuesday, because there was a couple of fights added and a couple of opponents changed. This is like almost a new prelims. So Nikolay Veretennikov versus Chaos Williams is an interesting one. I hate the cold one and all of his followers. I'm the metallic king, the boy that devours. Cold one. You can see with a lot of these matchups, it's like a lower...
Oh my God. I mean, when is this guy going to cut out the vaping, ladies and gentlemen? In this manly sport and very womanly sport, ladies and gentlemen, you got this guy here that can't handle a vape, ladies and gentlemen, and he is telling you who's going to win and lose and what you're going to put your money down on, and he's the professional and everything, and he's the big tough guy and everything. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, listen to me. At what point, look at this face right here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. At what point, Look at this. He's in pain, ladies and gentlemen. Who has a vape put them in pain, ladies and gentlemen? This guy right here. This guy right here. When does he learn not to vape during these fight predictions, ladies and gentlemen? I'm telling you, I have not watched this whole video. I watched like the first 3. And then I didn't watch, and here I am, you know, doing a fight prediction with MMA Rigo, ladies and gentlemen, and I didn't know he was going to sissy out the whole time with his vaping, ladies and gentlemen.
Level, like, pick your poison, because Bukauskas Williams has definitely that power and explosivity. The guy's going to win in 2 years.
His eyes are all watery and everything, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we've all been caught before, right? You know, I don't mean caught like in the middle of an octagon, ladies and gentlemen, kind of caught. I'm just saying like caught like him, but not 12 in a row, ladies and gentlemen. You learn how to, I mean, he's obviously showing off here, ladies and gentlemen. And when he's showing off, it looks pathetic, because it is pathetic, ladies and gentlemen. Take what you can handle, okay? He needs to go and hang out with Vinny the Guinea, ladies and gentlemen, the telekinesis guy, ladies and gentlemen. He needs to go and hang out with Vinny the Guinea, ladies and gentlemen, the telekinesis guy, ladies and gentlemen, and do some double dabs from Denver, ladies and gentlemen, some DDDs, ladies and gentlemen. And you will quickly become a man, ladies and gentlemen, because this is no man right here, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. I'll say it again, ladies and gentlemen. This is no man right here, ladies and gentlemen. Not in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen.
Since he knocked out Carlson Harris, and before that he had beat like Orlando Bedoya by a split decision. But you know, he had lost to Randy Brown before that, and most recently though, he's on a 2-fight skid. The Gabriel bombed him by submission. And Andreas Gustafsson, by decision, just outworked him, grinded him. Nico Price is the most recent win for Nikolay Veretennikov.
Shout out to Nico Price, ladies and gentlemen. Good friend of mine. Good friend of Simon Feck, 1 foot cock, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the shirts that you give me all the time there, Nico.
Obviously, like, anyone would knock him out. So did Chaos Williams, so did anyone. He lost to Punahele Soriano before that. The big Poon beat Francisco Prado, the guy he's got 1.5 feet over. It looked like a Wemby, you know, Victor Wembanyama versus Dennis Schroeder, that fight or something. The size difference between Prado and Nikolay. So, listen, this guy, though, I wouldn't write him off. Like, he got KO'd by Arnold Allen from before, but so I like Chaos is at his best. Still relatively young. He's actually 4 years younger than Nikolay Veretennikov, and only an inch shorter with a 3-inch reach advantage for Chaos. I like that. I want to see him come out there and put some paws on this Kazakh, this Slavo-Kazakh colonizer. Hey, you colonizer, Nikolay Veretennikov, Kazakh for Kazakh people. Kazakhstan for Kazakh people. No Slav on indigenous land. You know what I mean? That'd be so funny if frickin' like Kazakh, like the Kazakhs are on like some, like the same thing the Native Americans and stuff are doing. But Chaos Williams, first round KO. Let's take the gamble on Chaos. All right.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have chaos, ladies and gentlemen. In this one, Simon Feck's picking, ladies and gentlemen. Chaos Williams, ladies and gentlemen, gets this one done. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And I agree with MMA Rigo right here, ladies and gentlemen. The guy that can't handle a vape, ladies and gentlemen.
Right now, Timmy Cuamba versus Bernardo Sopaj is a very interesting matchup as well. I like this one. It's more competitive.
He'd rather place a bet on the horses. Get high, okay, to feel the distorted forces.
Well, I should not be doing this. I'm recording this like first thing in the morning. I haven't actually eaten breakfast yet. I just had freaking some coffee and some water.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, the excuses, ladies and gentlemen. You should see Vinny the Guinea doing double dabs from Denver, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you can't even see him through the cloud of smoke, ladies and gentlemen. This guy right here, barely anything's coming out, and he can't handle it. And he's going to blame it. He's blaming it on it's early in the morning and he hasn't had breakfast yet, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, a man wakes up and vapes. Well, I mean, vaping is, well, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to comment about vaping, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, boy.
I want to get this done because I'm late. Not a good idea to hit 8 blinkers.
He wakes up early in the morning, and then before breakfast, and then he wants to hurry up and get this prediction video done because he's late. What is he late to, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, he just moved back to Canada, ladies and gentlemen. As far as I know, he's living at his dad's place. Maybe he moved out. I don't know. He moved out of his supposed wife down there in El Salvador and came up to, his dad's wedding and something like that. And then he's, I don't know, a month or two later, he went back down to El Salvador. And then it seemed like he's not there anymore, ladies and gentlemen. But he doesn't look like he's in that, garage area or whatever. He was at his dad's house, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, excuses. So he wants to hurry up and get this fight prediction over with, ladies and gentlemen. This is a professional MMA YouTuber prediction video guy spawned from the MMA Guru, ladies and gentlemen. And he just wants to rush through this, ladies and gentlemen, because, he doesn't want it to inconvenience his life, ladies and gentlemen. And you guys are out there. Yeah, you guys. What is it? This prediction video's for you guys. That's right. This prediction video's for you guys. Like you and you. Listen, you're putting your hard-earned money down on some bets, and you're watching this guy right here, this guy, MMA Rigo, who wants to rush through his predictions. Maybe he rushed through his study. This is his study right now. Do you want to put your hard-earned money and trust into this guy right here, Mr. Vape himself, ladies and gentlemen, who's complaining that he wants to hurry up and get this video over with, ladies and gentlemen?
Now or whatever on frickin' an empty stomach. Holy cow. Timmy Cuamba, coming off of, I think, some upset.
I mean, whose fault is it that you have an empty stomach? I mean... Is this your first time vaping? And that, that you just learned that you need to, have your belly full? Wake up earlier so you're not late to whatever you're late to. He's not late to anything.
6 months ago, and beat Roberto Romero by KO. Flying in, it was a nice one before that. He had lost to Lucas Almeida, which isn't the greatest look, and had also lost to Belogi Oki, which is also not the greatest look, right? And those were his 4 fights in the UFC. So equal, 50-50. He's got an equal KD ratio in the UFC. And then Bernardo Sopaj, coming off that Ricky Tercios win a year and 3 months ago, though. He's been inactive since then. And he had got KO'd by Vinicius Oliveira in a debut, was it not? Yes. I wouldn't be surprised if Timmy Cuamba could just style on him. Timmy Cuamba's got a 3-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage, dude. And honestly, I am actually considering fading Sopaj because he's just, at the end of the day, a tiny little Swede, right? He's the anti-Swede, if anything, instead of being big, tall, strong Swede, man, he's little, tiny Albanian boy who lives in Stockholm or whatever, right? And Timmy Cuamba, the American there, with a massive height and reach advantage, multiplied on each other, guys. When we've already seen this fool get exposed, and he did not look great against Vinicius Oliveira, who's by no means clean and smooth, and he actually kind of fights similar to Timmy Cuamba. Timmy Cuamba is like a slightly worse version of Lockdog, in my opinion. If you look at his style, I think Timmy Cuamba has the same explosivity. He's got a similar KO. The matchmakers knew what they're doing with this one, because I think Timmy Cuamba could get...
Did you hear that? That was explosive from MMA Rigo right there. That is the old MMA Rigo right there. That explosive delivery, ladies and gentlemen, during his fight predictions right there. That is the MMA Rigo that we're all used to, ladies and gentlemen. The people that used to watch this guy, ladies and gentlemen. And if you used to watch him, ladies and gentlemen, you're basically hiding on the MMA YouTube space, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of people don't want to be associated with this guy right here, ladies and gentlemen. But that was explosive. That was exciting. That sort of took away his unmanly way of handling the vape, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, because, it's like people describe, like manly as like being able to handle something or something like that, ladies and gentlemen. And obviously it looks like he's not being able to handle, ladies and gentlemen, the vape, like that. But that explosive delivery on this particular fight prediction for this particular fight, ladies and gentlemen, was golden right there, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, golden, ladies and gentlemen.
The chin on this little guy, man. And if not, you could still win it by a decision if you can just start putting stuff up there. I'm going to switch this. This is a pick flip mid-video. These have typically not done the best for me, but I feel good about this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're an up-and-coming MMA YouTuber prediction video person, ladies and gentlemen, this is what you need to do. Add the excitement, the last-minute decision right as you're recording it, ladies and gentlemen, to give people confidence in your pick, ladies and gentlemen. You always want to switch mid-filming of the video or videoing of the video, ladies and gentlemen, because nobody uses film anymore, ladies and gentlemen. But as you're in the middle of your live stream, ladies and gentlemen, or, videoing the video, what you need to do to add to the excitement and really give people the confidence that they need to put their hard money down, what you need to do is take the pick and change it right before their eyes, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you right now, it adds to the excitement, ladies and gentlemen. And people are just going to be willing. They're going to be willing to, plot down 10,000, 100,000, 2 million or whatever, like those people in Kazakhstan or whatever, like last weekend at the Khamzat and Sean Strickland fight, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, Simon Feck's got a video coming out. It's coming out tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen. And it's called Nina Drama Doxes Sean Strickland, ladies and gentlemen. And because of the video and what the video's, about everything like that, ladies and gentlemen, a whole tour bus company that goes around like the famous people's houses, they have now added Sean Strickland's house on the famous people tour, the tour buses that go around and everything. They've added Sean Strickland's house now to it because Nina Drama doxed Sean Strickland, ladies and gentlemen. So now, the tour buses in Vegas that go to famous people's houses is now added Sean Strickland to the tour, ladies and gentlemen.
I just can't pick, the little guy, small guy over the normal sized guy here who's going to just be sticking and poking and being able to jump knees into his face, right? It's like, Sopaj's not that great to over...
So just a few minutes ago, he was going to pick that, and now he's changed it, ladies and gentlemen. And good thing he's changed it, right here at this point, or the video would have been out, and he would have had the wrong pick out there, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you got to prepare ahead of time on this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And right there, he prepared right in front of you, like a snap of the finger, ladies and gentlemen.
Compensate his size, which you can make the argument he could be a flyweight. Let's go, Timmy Cuamba. I'm going to take him.
That's wrong, ladies and gentlemen. That's wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck's going with Bernardo Sazuse, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Bernardo, ladies and gentlemen, is going to take this one, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck, 1 foot cock, ladies and gentlemen.
The off chance he can get a KO going and just beat the crap out of Sopaj with some big strikes and they'll call it off. I'm going to say around 2 or 3 even KO. I rarely ever pick around 3 KO, so I'm going to pick it in this one. This is a little bit of a gut pick. I could see Cuamba also taking a decision.
It's a little bit of a gut pick, and he was just the other way. It was flopped just a second ago, ladies and gentlemen. And now he already knows what round it's going to be in, ladies and gentlemen. You know? I mean, that's what these professional guys can do, ladies and gentlemen. They can make a decision based on who's going to win, and then, you know, in the middle of production of doing the video, they could swap it just like that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you don't know what I just said right there, they took time and education into their pick ahead of time, ladies and gentlemen. Why was he picking the other person ahead of time, ladies and gentlemen, and now he's picking this person, ladies and gentlemen? Prediction video people are a bunch of horse shit, ladies and gentlemen. You might as well take all this stuff as entertainment value, ladies and gentlemen, because these idiots don't know what they're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. You want people that know what they're talking about, ladies and gentlemen? Just look down in the comments down there, ladies and gentlemen. Just look down in the comments and you'll see it there. And if you don't see it, you ask Simon Feck down there, and Simon Feck will answer you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you who to look up to find predictions, ladies and gentlemen. I know the people who know what they're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Changing your mind at the last minute is for rookies, ladies and gentlemen.
Decent little underdog, but not that much. And I don't like Sopaj. I'm going to fail. Modestas, Bukauskas versus Christian Edwards. This is another short notice fight. I think Modestas had an opponent pull out. Christian Edwards, like a hero, stepped up as a short notice replacement. And we've seen short notice replacements get upsets on guys like Malcolm Wellmaker, who's the next fight we'll talk about. But I like Modestas in this matchup. I was going to probably pick him in the previous one, and this guy's coming in short notice. He's young and tall.
Yeah, he did pretty good on that vape right there, ladies and gentlemen. He had to do a little shake there and a little pause in his speech, ladies and gentlemen. But look at this right here. MMA Rigo's grown up and becoming a man before our very eyes, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's a scary thought, ladies and gentlemen, but right here, you've seen it. You've seen him take that vape, ladies and gentlemen. This little guy right here is growing up to be a man, ladies and gentlemen. One day he'll be a man, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you that, ladies and gentlemen. Woo!
And rangy though, but not very crazy significant. Not in the same way that Timmy Cuamba is over Sopaj, right? He's just got a little bit of a height and reach advantage. I'll take Modestas Bukauskas though by decision in this one. Now, Malcolm Wellmaker versus Juan Díaz. Listen. Didn't Wellmaker look like absolute dog shit against that Ethan Ewing guy? Who's like, yeah, he's like decent, and he would come in and win his next fight, but it's like, Wellmaker just showed nothing. If you just hustle him, you can beat him. And if you're just not gonna let him, like, he beat Cameron Simon, arguably a flyweight, really short little tiny arms for bantamweight, tiny guy for bantamweight, brutalized him. Chris Martino, absolute scrub, shouldn't be in the UFC, and some guy in Contender Series, and then lost to a real
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I got a little bit confused right there, ladies and gentlemen. I got a little bit confused on that one, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm going to take the same gentleman that MMA Rigo took right there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm taking Wellmaker. I'm pretty sure he said Wellmaker, right? Simon Feck's taking Wellmaker there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? I haven't watched this video all the way through, like I said before, ladies and gentlemen. And he threw me right there, ladies and gentlemen. Because, I mean, I got a different opponent down here, ladies and gentlemen. Who has the updated? I think I got the updated one, don't I? I mean, is Díaz fighting? I'm just playing with you, ladies and gentlemen. I got Wellmaker, ladies and gentlemen.
Crappy Chad, who's shorter than him anyway. Juan Díaz, also shorter. Coming in 15-1 with a spinning elbow KO over a Korean guy on Contender Series 6 months ago. He's going to be feeling hot. He's this next Peruvian prospect. He's the new Peruvian talent in the streets. He's probably riding that Jose Ochoa high, right? I wouldn't doubt. I don't know if they train together. It says he lives in Baja California. But point being, I'm just going to fade Wellmaker on the off chance that he actually is ass. If he comes out and impresses, and maybe Ethan is just a different level, of course. But I don't like picking a guy after that performance. You're only as good as your last fight. So this is the perfect time to back a short notice underdog 2 times in a row.
I mean, did he just like run past Modestas? What? Modestas? Simon Feck's got Modestas, ladies and gentlemen. Did I miss that one? I think these vapes are getting to me, ladies and gentlemen.
To beat Malcolm Wellmaker, in my opinion, guys. Let me know what you think about this one. This is our featured fight, so you can kind of see the quality of the card. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I am obviously not crazy confident, but I'm going to bet on Díaz. 100%. 100%. Straight bet his ass. Duho Choi versus Daniel Santos is our co-main, and it's a decent scrap. Willie Cat, Desant, and Duho Choi, the Korean Superboy, right? Let's get unbiased for this one, especially out of respect for the Hall of Famer, Duho Choi.
Them call me Rigo, born of the glacier's breath, winning every blink of pick and cheating every death. I the cold one.
I think this is also a really big toss-up, and if you're backing the Korean in this one, you ain't.
Man, he's really becoming manly here, MMA Rigo, ladies and gentlemen. Did you hear that song, ladies and gentlemen? It had MMA Rigo in it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Simon Feck, 1 foot cock, ladies and gentlemen.
Crazy. It's a pick-em, pretty much for a reason. Willie Cat is on a nice streak, though. Hasn't lost in years, actually. Hasn't lost in almost 4 years. When's his last loss? Yes, exactly about 4 years ago, to Julio Arce. You know, then he beat John Castaneda by KO 3 years, 7 months ago. 2 years, 10 months ago, beat Johnny Munoz Jr. 11 months ago, beat Zhang Yo Lee. He's on a 2-fight win streak right now against Koreans. Well, 4-fight win streak, 2 of those against Koreans back-to-back. I think he's going to get the 3rd against the Korean. Go for a 5-0. Willie Cat is the younger guy, the fresher guy, and the shorter guy as well, with a reach disadvantage, 3 inches. It's similar to the Timmy Cuamba stats with Sopaj. But see, the difference between a guy like Sopaj and a guy like Willie Cat is, like, Willie Cat ain't like a little boy, right? He's just like he's a shorter man.
He's not like a little boy. He's like a shorter man, ladies and gentlemen. Says this guy right here, MMA Rigo, ladies and gentlemen. It's not ironic or anything like that, ladies and gentlemen, but that's the way it goes, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, and I think he can beat up on this Korean guy, this Korean pot boy, who's looking fine since his layoff. Got the Bill Algeo KO, but bones of Bill Algeo at that point. And Nate Landwehr, they're giving him unks. Willie Cat's the first, 30-year-old guy this guy has fought in years, dude. So, I'm going to go Daniel Santos by decision in a war, probably, with Duho Choi.
Simon Feck's going with Duho Choi, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it. That's right. Going against Rigo here, ladies and gentlemen. Many, many fights, ladies and gentlemen, that Simon Feck and MMA Rigo, let's start over. Several fights here, ladies and gentlemen, that Simon Feck and MMA Guru just do not agree on, ladies and gentlemen. And he's Mr. 13-0, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck doesn't go around bragging that Simon Feck has had perfect cards before too, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Right here, let me put the microphone down, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get to the main card, ladies and gentlemen, we have a trivia question like we do every time, ladies and gentlemen. This week's trivia question, ladies and gentlemen, is it Nina Drama or Laura Sanko, ladies and gentlemen? That's right, you heard me. Simon Feck, 1 foot cock, wants to know, is it Nina Drama or is it Laura Sanko, ladies and gentlemen? Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. Is it Nina Drama or is it Laura Sanko, ladies and gentlemen? That's right. Drop your answers down in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. I want to know if it's Nina Drama or Laura Sanko, ladies and gentlemen. You listening to me, ladies and gentlemen? Don't listen to me. Don't let Simon Feck down, ladies and gentlemen. Put your comments down in the comments area, ladies and gentlemen. Nina Drama or Laura Sanko, ladies and gentlemen. Laura Sanko, the lady that has suspended Jon Anik, ladies and gentlemen. You haven't seen Jon Anik in a long time, ladies and gentlemen. He's getting phased out. They've signed a few contracts ahead of time before the suspenders, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to see Jon Anik here and there, ladies and gentlemen, but he's been suspended, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck's got the inside, ladies and gentlemen. Ever since Laura Sanko has wore the suspenders, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen less and less of Jon Anik, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. That's right. And soon you will see less and less of Nina Drama, ladies and gentlemen, because Simon Feck's got a video coming out tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, Saturday. Simon Feck has a video coming out. It's called Nina Drama Doxes UFC Champion Sean Strickland, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. So we're going to be seeing less and less of Nina Drama. Because being a UFC plant, ladies and gentlemen, Nina Drama being a UFC plant, she gets a lot of inside information, ladies and gentlemen. And right here, Dana White is not going to trust her with that information when she's going around knowingly doxing Sean Strickland, ladies and gentlemen. And now, you know those tour buses that go around to famous people's houses? They have now added Sean Strickland's house to the tours of the famous homes of the famous people, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Nina Drama or Laura Sanko, ladies and gentlemen. That trivia was for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. It's for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. People forget, man.
A nice sick scrap. Sorry, guys. This cart messed me up. Thank goodness I don't need it for Melquizael Costa because
he's all vaped out, ladies and gentlemen. He's having a hard time. He knows he's only got one left. He's not going to do the vape before the main card, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if you're doing this, right, if this is your gimmick, ladies and gentlemen, wouldn't you do the big vape? Like Vinny the Guinea would do a big double dab from Denver, ladies and gentlemen, for the main card, ladies and gentlemen. This guy is ducking. He's a ducker, ladies and gentlemen. MMA Rigo's ducking the vape, ladies and gentlemen. And for the main card, ladies and gentlemen. This is where all the glory is, ladies and gentlemen. This is where Bruce Buffer said, you know, he's announcing the whole thing and he tries to jump off the ground, but he has no vertical nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. And, you know, whatever Bruce Buffer says and everything like that, ladies and gentlemen. This guy right here is blowing. MMA Rigo is blowing, ladies and gentlemen. MMA Rigo is blowing his big opportunity here, ladies and gentlemen. He's just blowing it all over the place, ladies and gentlemen. The whole time, ladies and gentlemen, people are going to be looking at you like you can't vape, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? MMA Rigo, stop blowing it, ladies and gentlemen.
half these underdogs are pick'ems, and we got the +1 like 50 for Melquizael Costa, who's bigger, cleaner, on more momentum, smarter, cooler than Arnold Allen, right? Arnold Allen, all respect.
Because MMA Rigo knows what cool is, ladies and gentlemen. He's a guy that can't even vape and fake it on camera, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, if you got a cough like that, fake it. I mean, man up, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, man.
He's a nice guy, and he puts on really fun fights. He has to be one of the stupidest people to have ever fought in an octagon, along with the likes of, say, the Cedricus Dumases, and he is carried by, like, a tenacity, ferocity and a natural athleticism that I'm assuming gets from his bodybuilder or weightlifter dad or whatever. Because the guy has a great physique, he's really strong, he's got cardio for days. He's got nothing. He didn't know, like, I don't know, I was watching some stuff about him and it just really...
He's got nothing. And then MMA Rigo goes, we got to watch that again, ladies and gentlemen.
That I'm assuming gets from his bodybuilder or weightlifter dad or whatever. Because the guy has a great physique, he's really strong, he's got cardio for days. He's got nothing. He didn't know, like, I don't know, I was watching some stuff about him and it just really reinforced it. Because I remember he always used to be like, on stage. And it's like, no, there's just really, he's not nervous. There's nothing going on in his head. I watched one of his live streams. He's just kind of a mush-mouthed bog person. And I'm saying this with all due respect to Arnold Allen. I think he's capped in his career. I think he's an extraordinarily entertaining fighter, but he is capped in his career and he has made ignorant and stupid decisions in his fights that have cost him fights, and is also just showing that he's not, you know, clean in the way that people like Gene Silva or a Melquizael Costa are. And when Melquizael Costa has a 2-inch height advantage and an inch reach advantage, and he's a more well-rounded fighter, like he's got the submission threat and he's got those high kick KOs that he's riding, right? Doesn't he have 2 high kick, spinning back kick over Dan Ige? It was disgusting. He's the first guy ever to finish Dan Ige and the first guy ever to KO Morgan Sherrier. With the head kick. That was the head kick. And then, you know, his decision over Julian Erosa. He's got the decision over Christian Rodriguez. I think he has the submission over Andre Fili before that. He's on like a 6 or 7 fight win streak. I think his last and only loss in the UFC is to Steve Garcia, who's about to win as an underdog at Freedom 250 against Diego Lopez. Guys, the new breed of featherweights is here. You know what's funny? Everyone's talking about, like, lightweight a year or 2 ago. How about the old guard have got to go and it's become stagnant? 145 is the exact same thing, hence why Volk's still the champ. But these guys are going to be gone. Like the video. Yeah, actually. Thank you, MacBook, for putting that prompt up there. Arnold Allen is just, he's got the cardio, he's got the skill set, he's just not clean, he makes stupid decisions, and Melquizael Costa is on a freaking heater right now. He's a violent, criminal man. He has criminal, violent intentions with the way he's going to want to hurt you. And I think he's going to beat the living crap out of Arnold Allen for 5 rounds and get a decision. Because Arnold Allen is tough enough to survive. And I think Melky just might not be able to get those big shots. If anyone's going to finish Arnold Allen, it is Melquizael Costa. You know what? Just because he's an underdog, I think the bookies for giving him to us as that underdog, so I don't have to bet him for a prop to get any value out of him or anything like that. I'm just going to straight bet him at the money line. And that segues into the betting section of this video. This week, I'm not feeling a parlay. Melquizael Costa is like my lock underdog of the week.
Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Feck. Simon Feck has Arnold Allen for the win, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck has Arnold Allen for the win, just like MMA Guru. Just like MMA Guru predicted, ladies and gentlemen. Arnold Allen, ladies and gentlemen. Arnold Allen wins this one, ladies and gentlemen. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck's got Arnold Allen on this one, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Arnold Allen for the win, ladies and gentlemen.
Whatever you want to call him, I think he's going to win, and win with confidence and emphasis over Arnold Allen. He's, whatever it is on your sports book, it's probably sitting around the same line, plus 140, plus 150. I'll throw it up, Bet365 up here. And besides that, I already said my underdogs and stuff. Like, I like Juan Díaz against Malcolm Wellmaker, probably only worth a sprinkle. I'm going to be hammering Melquizael Costa. And I've done too many blinkers to actually pull. Oh, Timmy Cuamba is a good underdog against Sopaj, but it's like almost a pick-up. I'll try to think of a parlay, hop into my streams over the week. But if you want that, for this video, I'm just locking Melquizael Costa. Take that and run with it. Take the free cash and run with it, guys. It's an absolute cert. And, you know, you've heard my analysis. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think MMA Rigo gets a C-, ladies and gentlemen. That's Simon Feck's take on MMA Rigo, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to look toward, you're going to look for, you're going to look into MMA Rigo's picks, ladies and gentlemen, you need to watch out, ladies and gentlemen, because this guy is like a loose cannon with picks, ladies and gentlemen, and that's going to be your money. Your money's going to be flopping all over the deck, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Feck, 1 foot cock, ladies and gentlemen.